Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Hamas delegation is set to visit Egypt soon for further talks, affirms the group's positive spirit in studying the ceasefire proposal. Turkey halts all trade with Israel over Gaza aid access. Russia quietly shipping refined petroleum to North Korea above United Nations camp as US readies new sanctions to come soon in response.
The United States will continue to impose sanctions against those working to facilitate arms and refined petroleum transfers between Russia and the DPRK.
UN, EU, US urge Georgia to halt foreign agents bill as protests grow. Protesters see bill as authoritarian, while ruling Georgian Dream Party says the law is needed to ensure transparency. And in India's general elections, opposition's Congress leader Rahul Gandhi ends suspense, announcing his candidacy from Raebareli. Voting on the seat will take place on 20th of May in the fifth phase. Well, on to the details now. Hamas said a delegation is set to visit Egypt soon for further ceasefire talks in the Gaza conflict. In a statement, Hamas said that Haniyeh had affirmed the group's positive spirit in starting the ceasefire proposal during telephonic conversation with Egypt's intelligence chief. Earlier, Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh discussed the ongoing Gaza ceasefire talks in separate phone calls with Egypt's intelligence chief Abbas Kamel and Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani. Hamas on last Saturday said it received Israel's latest position and would study it before giving a reply. Also, the Egyptian state-affiliated Al Qahira News quoted a high-level Egyptian source as saying that the Hamas delegation would arrive in Cairo in the next 2 days. Egypt recently renewed its bid to push stalled negotiations between Israel and Hamas to agree a ceasefire in Gaza. And Turkey has halted exports and imports to and from Israel. Turkish Trade Ministry in a statement said export and import transactions related to Israel have been stopped covering all products. The statement further reads, Turkey will strictly and decisively implement these new measures until the Israeli government allows an uninterrupted and sufficient flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza. Turkey last month imposed trade restrictions on Israel over what it said was Israel's refusal to allow Ankara to take part in aid airdrop operations for Gaza and its offensive on the enclave. The two countries had a trade volume of $6.8 billion in 2023. Well, the announcement came after Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz said Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was breaking agreements by blocking ports from handling Israeli imports and exports. Israel Katz, in a social media post, said he instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to work to create alternatives for trade with Turkey, focusing on local production and imports from other countries. Well, the U.S. on Thursday called on both Israel and Hamas to ensure that aid bound for civilians in Gaza is not disrupted. In a media briefing, the U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller called the Hamas actions to divert aid unacceptable. Earlier, a shipment from Jordan was attacked by Israeli settlers and subsequently diverted by Hamas terrorists.
It was an unacceptable act by Hamas to divert this aid to begin with, to seize this aid. We have made clear that it's an unacceptable act. I think the UN partners will be also making clear that it's an unacceptable act. These attacks on aid shipments are unacceptable, and that Israel ought to take steps to prevent them, and it ought to take steps to hold people accountable for them.
Well, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said he does not see any indication Hamas is planning any attack on U.S. troops in Gaza. Aid fire is being built there. Austin was talking to media after meetings with Australian Deputy PM Richard Marles, Japan Minister of Defense Minoru Kihara, and Philippines Secretary of National Defense Gilberto Teodoro Jr. in Hawaii. The U.S. Secretary of Defense said adequate measures are being put in place for the safety of military personnel.
I don't see any indications currently that there is an active intent to do that. Having said that, Phil, this is a combat zone, and a number of things can happen, a number of things will happen, the safety and security of our troops is very important to me. Our allies are also providing security in that area as well. And so it's going to require that we continue to coordinate with them very closely to ensure that, if anything happens, that, our troops are protected.
Also, U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday said that freedom of speech and the rule of law must be respected in protest at college campuses over Gaza conflict. In a media briefing, Biden emphasized that there is no place for violence of any kind against Arab Americans and Palestinian Americans.
We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent. The American people are heard. In fact, peaceful protest is in the best tradition of how Americans respond to consequential issues. Peaceful protest in America. Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. It's against the law when violence occurs. In America, we respect the right and protect the right for them to express that. But it doesn't mean anything goes. It needs to be done without violence, without destruction, without hate, and within the law.
Well, Israel's war cabinet has convened on Thursday to discuss Gaza truce proposal. According to Israeli government sources, the ministers were discussing Gaza truce proposal to free some hostages held by Hamas, as well as prospects for an army operation in Rafah. Israel awaits a response from Hamas on the latest ceasefire offer presented by Egyptian mediators, which would bring about the release of some of its 133 hostages still held by Hamas group since the October 7 cross-border attack that triggered the Gaza conflict. And Britain has promised $3.74 billion of annual military aid for Ukraine on Thursday. Visiting Kyiv, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said London had no objection to the weapons being used inside Russia. Cameron met Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba and President Volodymyr Zelensky on his second visit to Kyiv as Foreign Secretary.
In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view, it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They're defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin, and they must take those steps. We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things, but let's be absolutely clear. Russia has launched an attack into Ukraine, and Ukraine absolutely has the right to strike back at Russia.
Well, Russian-guided bombs struck a site close to a sports complex in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region on Thursday. The town of Doordarshan near the Russian border is a frequent target of Russian aerial strikes. The Kharkiv region has long been targeted by Russian attacks, but the strikes have become more intense in recent months, hitting civilian and energy infrastructure. Moscow denies deliberately targeting civilians, but thousands have been killed and injured in the conflict since February 2022. And Russia has been shipping refined petroleum to North Korea in volumes that may violate the UN Security Council's restrictions. The disclosure came on the first day after a UN panel of experts monitoring enforcement of long-standing UN sanctions against North Korea was disbanded after a Russian veto. Moscow supplied over 165,000 barrels of refined petroleum to North Korea in March alone. North Korea is limited to importing 500,000 barrels of petroleum products per year under the United United Nations sanctions. The move was condemned by several other UN members who accused Russia of shielding its purchases of North Korean arms for its war effort against Ukraine. State Department spokesperson Matt Miller said the United States and its allies are working to announce new coordinated sanctions designations this month.
The United States will continue to impose sanctions against those working to facilitate arms and refined petroleum transfers between Russia and the DPRK. We are currently working with our partners, including Australia, the European Union, Japan, New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, and the United Kingdom to announce new coordinated sanctions designations this month.
Well, flare-up between China and the Philippines refused to die down after Beijing's use of water cannon against Filipino vessels at a disputed shoal in the South China Sea. Now, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has criticized it, saying it was an irresponsible behavior and disregards international law. Austin said this at a news conference after meeting with leaders from Australia, Japan and the Philippines amid increasing concerns about Chinese military aggression in the Pacific.
Filipino crews are put in danger, where sailors have been injured and property damage. That's irresponsible behavior, and it disregards international law. So, Phil, I won't get into any hypotheticals on what could happen and how it could happen. I would just say that you've heard me say, you've heard our president say a number of times that our commitment to the treaty is ironclad, and we stand with the Philippines.
Last month, the U.S. and Chinese defense chiefs spoke, during which Austin stressed the importance of respect for high seas freedom of navigation as guaranteed under international law, especially in the South China Sea. Beijing has asserted its desire to control access to the South China Sea and bring Taiwan under its control by force if necessary. Well, a lawyer who worked for Stormy Daniels, the adult film star at the center of Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial, has taken the witness stand again. The former president has been charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records in an attempt to influence the results of the 2016 election. DD India's correspondent Ira Spitzer reports from New York, where the Trump trial is taking place.
More drama here in New York City with former U.S. President Donald Trump once again in court, where he is facing these charges of falsifying business records. And the former lawyer for someone who is very central to this case, Stormy Daniels, her former lawyer Keith Davidson, was on the stand once again, facing both questions from the prosecution as well as cross-examination. And what Keith Davidson says that he did was help broker the $130,000 payment from Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen to the adult film actress Stormy Daniels, who it is alleged had a relationship with Donald Trump in 2006. And that is why Michael Cohen at least paid her this money, but the court is really trying to show that it was Donald Trump who was ultimately behind this payment. So it was a dramatic testimony in some cases, shedding some light on this somewhat seedy world of what the Trump prosecutors actually called extortion of celebrities, although Keith Davidson pushed back on that assertion, saying that he was not in the business of extorting celebrities. But certainly jurors got a glimpse into this world of hush money payments, which is, of course, what is being alleged here. And another dramatic scene followed that, where a separate witness actually played a recording of Donald Trump and Michael Cohen discussing another alleged hush money payment, not the one with Stormy Daniels, but a similar payment to a woman named Karen McDougal. And again, it was not, names were not named on that phone conversation between those two men. Of course, they've since had a major falling out, but without naming names, it did seem to give jurors a glimpse of how close Donald Trump and Michael Cohen were in arranging potentially the financial aspects of an arrangement, perhaps similar to what is being alleged to have happened with Stormy Daniels. So continued drama here with this criminal trial, which might be the only of the 4 cases against Donald Trump, where we could see a verdict ahead of the election later this year. Ira Spetzer reporting in New York for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll give you weather updates on the devastating effects of floods in many areas. In Vietnam, art and the digital world come together to give audience an interactive art session. And ruins of a century-old town, Pantabangan, revealed after water level of a Philippines dam receded due to heat wave.
Ten states and 1 union territory with 93 constituencies go to vote in Phase 3 of the Lok Sabha elections on May 7. Gujarat, Karnataka and Goa will be under the spotlight as all Lok Sabha seats go to polls. We track the states from the north, west and south in Phase 3 on the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Moving on, Georgia's controversial Foreign Agents Bill continued to create ripples as top governing bodies and West expressing criticism and protesters occupying the streets. The United Nations, European Union, the US, Britain, Italy and Germany condemned the bill, terming it as Russian-inspired. The EU warns it could harm the Bissell's ambitions of joining the bloc, while the US said the bill threatened free speech. However, the governing Georgian Dream Party argues the bill will boost transparency of foreign funding, but protesters fear it could be used to crush critical voices ahead of parliamentary elections later this year. Parliament on Wednesday approved the second reading of the bill. Debates on Thursday were cancelled due to criticism. Lawmakers are now expected to give the bill its third and final reading in around 2 weeks. The bill would require organizations receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as agents of foreign influence. And thousands of people protested in Slovakia's Bratislava Square on Thursday against a proposed overhaul by government of public broadcaster. The legislation is the latest step in an effort by Prime Minister Robert Fico's government to tighten control over the European Union and NATO member country. Under the new legislation expected to be approved by Parliament in June, the public broadcaster's director will be removed and a 9-member council will be responsible for filling the director position. The Culture and Finance Ministries will nominate 4 members to the council, while the rest will be experts appointed by Parliament. And Britain's opposition Labour Party won a parliamentary seat in northern England on Friday, beating the governing Conservatives in one of a series of votes. Voters in England and Wales cast ballots on Thursday in an array of local elections, amounting to the last big test before a UK general election. Labour candidate Chris Webb won the seat with 10,285 votes. The Conservative candidate came second on 3,218. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives are around 20 percentage points behind Labour in most opinion polls. The results due throughout Friday and Saturday will offer some insight into whether those polling trends materialise at the ballot box. And the British authorities have started to detain migrants in preparation for them to be sent to Rwanda in the next 9 to 11 weeks. Parliament last month approved a law that paves the way for sending asylum seekers to Rwanda if they arrive in Britain without permission. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is expected to call an election later this year in which illegal migration is likely to feature prominently, wants the first flights to take off in July. More than 7,500 migrants have arrived in England on small boats from France so far this year. The government says the new law will deter people from making the perilous trip across the channel. And Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs signed House Bill 2677 into law on Thursday, repealing the state's 1864 ban on abortion. The repeal was passed by the Senate in a 16-14 vote on Wednesday. Two Republican senators crossed party lines to vote in favor of repealing the ban. The Arizona House last week passed the measure after a handful of Republicans broke party ranks and voted with Democrats to send it to the Senate. Democrats across the U.S. have sought to elevate the issue ahead of November's presidential election. Arizona Democrats have said they will continue attempting to place a ballot measure before voters in November that would restore abortion rights. Restrictions on abortion are still in place in Arizona. In 2022, the state legislature passed a law that bans abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. And a home exploded in central New Jersey on Thursday, killing one person and seriously injuring another. Emergency responders, including the fire department, arrived at the scene to swiftly contain the fire and secure the area. The explosion's impact extended throughout the cul-de-sac, with every neighboring home experiencing damage. Authorities are still trying to establish the cause of the explosion. And Panamanians will elect a new president on Sunday, with 8 candidates set to appear on the ballot, and polls are showing mixed rankings among the 5 front runners. The result will be final, as Panama's electoral rules do not require a runoff. Outgoing President Laurentino Cortizo took office with only a 2 percentage point advantage in the last election. Panama former President Martin Torrijos will vie for the presidency in the May 5th elections. According to some polls, Torrijos has put forward diverse proposals, including boosting the Panama Canal and addressing the migrant crisis from a regional perspective. And the majority of Haiti's Transition Council, who had nominated an interim prime minister earlier this week, has walked back the decision. Late on Wednesday, 4 of the council's 7 voting members issued a statement saying they will go back to an original agreement to choose a prime minister from a pool of applicants after having tapped former official Fritz Belizaire for the job. In recent years, Haiti's political and social order has suffered repeated setbacks, from a presidential assassination to a major earthquake, aggravating a power vacuum increasingly filled by armed gangs vying for power. Violence on the island nation has spiked in recent months, with more than 1 person killed in gang violence every hour over the first 3 months of this year, according to United Nations data. And the United States will provide nearly $55 million to address a dire humanitarian crisis in Burkina Faso. The aid will address emergency food and nutrition needs, as well as other support, Power has said. The funds will bring the U.S. Agency for International Development's total emergency aid to Burkina Faso to nearly $158 million since the beginning of fiscal year 2023. Burkina Faso is one of several nations in Africa's Sahel region struggling to contain Islamist insurgencies linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State that have killed thousands and displaced millions. Frustrations over authorities' failure to protect civilians have contributed to 2 coups in Mali, 2 in Burkina Faso and 1 in Niger since 2020. The current military rulers in Burkina Faso ceased fire at the end of 2022. Well, India slammed Pakistan as Islamabad's envoy tried to provoke Delhi. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, Indian envoy at UN Ruchira Kamboj said that Pakistan harbors a most dubious track record on all aspects.
Used to set aside the remarks from a certain delegation, which not only lack decorum, but also detract from our collective efforts due to their destructive and pernicious nature. We would strongly encourage that delegation to align with the essential principles of respect and diplomacy that must always guide our discussions. Or is that too much to ask of a country that harbors a most dubious track record on all aspects in itself?
While the 7th Joint Defence Cooperation Committee meeting between India and Indonesia will be held in New Delhi today, both sides will exchange views on regional and global issues of shared interest. Indonesian Secretary General, who is on a visit to India till May 4th, will also have discussions with Indian defence industries in New Delhi and Pune. The Defence Cooperation Agreement between the two countries was signed in 2001 and it has now been diversified to include military-to-military exchanges, high-level visits, capacity building and training programs. And now some weather news. In Brazil, at least 13 people have died due to heavy rains. Brazil's southernmost state of Rio Grande do Sul is grappling with one of the worst storms in recent years, prompting the state government to declare a state of public calamity. At least 21 people are missing and 5,257 have been displaced. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva visited devastated town of Santa Maria, where he offered full support and aid. Also, as devastating floods continue to wreak havoc in Kenya, officials on Thursday evacuated stranded tourists. Around 100 tourists were stranded since the flood hit on April 29th. Officials airlifted tourists from disaster points and rescued them. Workers and visitors have been evacuated safely and transferred to nearby hotels and camps where there is no flooding. Spokesperson Stefan Dujarric addressed the press on Thursday regarding the flood situation in East African countries. He expressed the Secretary General's concern over the news of the hundreds of lives lost and many others affected by the heavy flooding.
The Secretary General expressed his deep distress at the news of the hundreds of lives lost and many others affected by the heavy flooding in Burundi, in Kenya, Somalia, and Tanzania, as well as other parts of East Africa. The United Nations and its partners are working closely with national authorities to address the humanitarian requirements. The Secretary General stresses that the United Nations stands ready to offer any additional assistance that may be needed.
Well, a heavy rain also lashed the United Arab Emirates, leading to flooding of numerous areas. National Center of Meteorology issued an orange alert on Thursday. The rain forced the closure of schools and many offices across the country. At least 13 flights were cancelled and 5 were diverted from Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest by international passenger traffic. Also, schools in Indonesia's Sulawesi province were closed on Thursday following Ruang volcano's explosion. Authorities evacuated 12,000 people from the nearby Tegulangland island after the Ruang rained lava, rocks and ash. The Center for Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation raised the alert status of Ruang to the highest level and warned the residents of a tsunami triggered by volcanic material collapsing into the ocean. A state of emergency has been declared by local government effective until 14th of May. And the Philippines is experiencing severe heatwave conditions with the onset of the dry season. The severity has led to closure of schools and health alerts. The country's weather agency said the heat index is expected to remain at a record 45 degrees Celsius. Amidst extreme heat wave, receding levels from a dam in the province of Nueva Ecija revealed ruins of a centuries-old town, Pantabangan. The ruins of the old town resurfaces whenever the dam dries up due to prolonged hot weather conditions. Well, the 10th anniversary edition of World Art Dubai kick-started at the Dubai World Trade Center on Thursday. The 4-day fair features over 4,000 artworks from 400 galleries and solo artists representing 60-plus countries. The Indian Pavilion was seen buzzing with contemporary Indian art. Visitors can experience dynamic pop art, immersive installations and unique fusions of art and interior design. These exhibits showcase the modern spirit of India's art scene, featuring works by emerging artists. The artworks are being showcased alongside 12 country pavilions representing artistic expressions from China, Turkey, Iran, America, Russia, the UAE, Europe, the UK and the Arab world. And in Vietnam, art and the digital world are coming together to give audience an interactive art session. Song Lab, Vietnam's first digital art hub, was inaugurated in central Hue City. Its archives of artworks draw inspiration from Vietnamese culture, art and architecture. The space offers an art-filled experience using cutting-edge projection, sound, light and scent technologies. And still to come on DD India News Hour. DD India correspondents track the poll pulse of voters across the country from the ground. As election season is in full swing, we will tell you about promises being made in Malda for setting up a food processing unit for mangoes. Spreading over the city through its wide network and rapid transformation, India's Delhi Metro celebrates its 30th Foundation Day today.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Hamas delegation is set to visit Egypt soon for further talks, affirms the group's positive spirit in studying the ceasefire proposal. Turkey halts all trade with Israel over Gaza aid access. Russia quietly shipping refined petroleum to North Korea above United Nations cap as US readies new sanctions to come soon in response. UN, EU, US urge Georgia to halt foreign agents bill as protests grow. Protesters West see bill as authoritarian, while ruling Georgian Dream Party says the law is needed to ensure transparency. And in India's general elections, opposition's Congress leader Rahul Gandhi ends suspense, announcing his candidacy from Raebareli. Voting on the seat will take place on 20th of May in the 5th phase. Well, now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Well, Friday is the last date for filing nominations for the seats that will go to polls on the 20th of May in the 5th round of the 7-phase general elections. Ending the suspense, Congress leader and Wayanad Member of Parliament Rahul Gandhi announced his candidacy from Uttar Pradesh's Raebareli seat, the Gandhi family stronghold vacated by his mother Sonia Gandhi. Gandhi family loyalist Kishori Lal Sharma will also file nomination from Amethi, the seat that Rahul Gandhi lost to Union Minister Smriti Irani in 2019. Meanwhile, the third phase of voting in the ongoing general elections will take place on the 7th of May. In this phase, voters across 94 Lok Sabha constituencies in a total of 12 states and union territories will exercise their right to franchise. Last month, the Election Commission of India postponed the polling for the ongoing general elections in Madhya Pradesh's Betul following the death of a BSP candidate from the constituency. The polling in Betul will now take place on the 7th of May. And campaigning for the third phase of Lok Sabha elections intensified, with top leaders holding back-to-back rallies to woo the voters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit West Bengal and Jharkhand today in order to garner support in party's favour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold rallies in West Bengal's Bardhaman, Krishnanagar and Bolapur. Later in the day, Prime Minister will hold rally in Jharkhand's Chaibasa. And with the Lok Sabha polls underway and the election campaigning at its peak, BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will visit Karnataka, Maharashtra and Goa today to sought support of voters for their respective party candidates. Amit Shah to hold rallies in Karnataka's Hukeri, Maharashtra's Ratnagiri and Sangli. Later in the day, he will hold rally in North Goa. And campaigning for the third phase of Lok Sabha elections is in full swing. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi to hold rallies in Odisha and Pune. Rahul Gandhi to sought support for the Mahavikas Aghadi candidates. Well, election is the season of making promises. Some of the promises made by political parties can really touch a chord with different section of voters. One such promise is the setting up of a food processing unit for mangoes in West Bengal's Malda, which has 2 parliamentary seats, Uttar and Dakshin, going to polls on the 7th of May. Gautam Roy reports for more.
Malda, the king among mangoes, where in Malda, the place which is named after the fruit, and is also known as the mango capital of West Bengal, which is India's largest mango producing state, and India is the largest mango producer in the entire world. It's early May and the trees are laden with the fruit, and the mango orchard owners and merchants are looking forward to a grand harvest. On an average, Malda produces 350,000 metric tons of mangoes a year using 31,000 hectares of land, involving nearly 450,000 people. 3 varieties have even got the prestigious geographical indicator or GI tag, but it has no major processing facility. As ripe mangoes are perishable and there is no at-scale cost-effective technique yet to store them in bulk, experts say 25 to 30% of the harvest goes waste. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while campaigning in the region on the 26th of April, announced that Malda will soon have a dedicated processing facility for mangoes and makhana.
हम कहते हैं कि हमारे मालदा के किसानों का आम और मालदा के किसानों का मखाना पूरी दुनिया में फेमस है। उनकी आमदनी बढ़े, उन्हें ज्यादा पैसा मिले, इसके लिए यहाँ फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री लगाएंगे।
यहाँ पे मदर मैंगो प्रोसेसिंग मदर इंडस्ट्री होना बहुत जरूरी है।
It is very important to have a mango mother processing industry in Malda. With the mother processing industry, ancillary units will come up around it in the Malda and nearby districts. A lot of people will get jobs because of it, who otherwise are going to other places to find jobs.
फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री बन जाएगा, मदर इंडस्ट्री बन जाएगा, तो यहाँ के आदमी लोग यहाँ पे अपना डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, अपना स्टेट में काम कर सकेगा।
A pilot processing facility for mangoes and other produce like honey has been set up in Malda's Central Government Horticulture Research Center to support local tribals, particularly women. Its products are 100% natural and will soon be available on e-commerce platforms.
ICR is going to support in a big way. We'd like to have a bigger facility at this station so that we can render best of the support to the women as well as other entrepreneurs from different parts of West Bengal as well as adjoining states of the states.
Mangoes are the mainstay of Malda's economy. Both Uttar and Dakshin Malda parliamentary seats are going to polls on the 7th of May in the third of India's 7-phase national elections. Clearly, it's a high-stakes election for both Malda's Aam, which means mango in Hindi, and Aam Matdata, or in English, the common voter. With camera person Uttam Singh, Gautam Roy, Dakshin Malda, DD India.
And for more, we have our correspondents joining us from the ground on elections, Shishir Shelar from Ratnagiri, Maharashtra, and Siddharth Bharadwaj from Durg in Chhattisgarh. Well, Shishir, good morning. My first question to you. Polling for 11 Lok Sabha seats in Maharashtra will be held in the third phase, that is on the 7th of May. BJP and Shiv Sena are in a direct contest in Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, which is an important constituency. What's the political scenario overall?
Well, absolutely. Right now I'm in Ratnagiri, and here Union Minister Amit Shah is going to have an election rally here. And that's the reason all the, especially the NDA alliance is actually geared up, and all the NDA partners in the NDA alliance have reached to the Ratnagiri, and probably in the afternoon the rally will start. Of course, the important tussle between Ratnagiri and Sindhudurga district will be against the Uddhav Thackeray Sena, against the BJP, because this time around another Union Minister, Mr. Narayan Rane, is also in the fray, and he'll be contesting from Sindhudurga Ratnagiri constituency here. Against him, we know from the Thackeray side, that is Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray side, there's Vinayak Raut, who is a sitting MP from this region, will be contesting the election. So obviously it's quite interesting battle to watch for, because if you look at the entire Konkan region, Narayan Rane has a very good hold, especially it comes to the Sindhudurga district also and Ratnagiri district also. But in a recent time, we have seen here that the the Vinayak Raut from the Shiv Sena have actually got a good ground, particularly in this region. Now, obviously, when Narayan Rane is in BJP, and along with the Shinde Shiv Sena also supporting him, and the Raj Thackeray factor is also supporting Narayan Rane, it seems quite interesting fight, particularly in Konkan region. That's the reason all the eyes set on this particular seat here during the third phase. Obviously, not just Konkan, but if you look at the western Maharashtra region also, because the western Maharashtra region will also be going for the poll in the third phase here, which has some of the key important contests here. Obviously, Kolhapur, one of the important seats that we've discussed. Satara is also one of the important seats that will go for the poll here. Apart from that, Baramati and Shirur, these are the important contests that we are seeing this time around that will go for the poll during the third phase. And that's the reason now the entire western Maharashtra region and the Konkan region is geared up. We have seen some of the big political leaders have conducted rally in this particular region, be it Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Today Amit Shah will be here also. At the same time, we have seen from the Congress, Rahul Gandhi also held rallies in this particular region. This is a power center, we can say, probably in Maharashtra, because this entire land is also known as very fertile land also. Industrially, the industrialization, particularly in this entire region, has also working quite well, and that's the reason not just the agriculture, but at the same time industry also working very well. So that's the reason the political parties want to get a stronghold on this region, the Western Maharashtra region and the Konkan region as well. Right. And that's the reason we have seen here that the political battle in those areas now, Western Maharashtra region and the Konkan will be quite fierce.
All right. All right, my next question to you, Siddharth. The third and final phase of elections in Chhattisgarh will take place on the 7th of May, with 7 constituencies going to polls from there. From urban centers like Durg to Raipur and Raigarh, the state encompasses a wide spectrum of communities and concerns. How is the political heat building up there?
Well, first of all, a very good morning to you, Lipakshi. I'm here in Raipur, which is one of the most important constituencies amongst the 7 constituencies which will go to polls on May 7th. And Raipur is also the capital of the state of Chhattisgarh. Now, if I talk to you about this region, then the political landscape here, the battle, the contest is predominantly between the 2 political parties, Lipakshi, which is the BJP and the Congress. Now, by looking at the numbers, we can clearly say that BJP has a stronghold here in the region. Now, I'll take you a little back in 2019 as far as the Lok Sabha elections are concerned, Lipakshi. In 2019, first of all, there are 11 seats up for grabs in the state of Chhattisgarh. In 2019, Congress won 2 seats and BJP won 9 seats. And in 2014, Congress won just 1 seat, BJP won 10 seats, which clearly goes on to show that BJP has a stronghold here. They have a dominance here in the region. Also, this could be very well explained with the fact that when Chhattisgarh was carved out from Madhya Pradesh on November 1st, 2000, ever since the BJP has been winning here. So we can clearly say that the party has a dominance here. As far as these elections are concerned, the general elections 2024, Lipakshi, the political scenario here seems interesting. With both political parties are campaigning, the campaigning is going on in full swing. I'd like to tell you about the contenders who are there. From the BJP side, Brij Mohan Agarwal, a senior leader, has been fielded by the BJP. And as far as the Congress is concerned, that Vikas Upadhyay has been fielded by the Congress. So the battle, like I said, is between both the political parties. This time around, the Congress is saying if they'll come to power in this region, they'll work in areas like unemployment and inflation. Wherein BJP, when we had a word with the party members, the candidate as well, Mr. Brij Mohan Agarwal, he's saying that he's very confident that, like always, this time around as well, the BJP will come into power and people of Raipur will show their trust in the party.
Yes.
So this is the political scenario looks like as of now, but ultimately, Lipakshi, it rests in the hand of voters who will be casting their ballot on May 7th as to who they will be deciding that who will be representing this constituency. Back to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Siddharth and Shishir, for that information from there. And moving on, Delhi Metro is today celebrating its 30th foundation days. Successfully running for the last 3 decades, Delhi Metro over the years has spread over the city through its wide network. The Delhi Metro started operations on 24 December 2002 between Shahadra and Tisazari in the northern part of the city for just about 8.4 kilometers. Over the years, it has upgraded its technologies, making it one of the most advanced rapid transport system in the country. And still to come, indeed, India News Hour. Beer Leverkusen's record unbeaten march continues with a 2-0 win at Roma in the first leg of Europa League semi-finals. Amidst challenges in business as it invests in AI features, Apple reported a decline in quarterly revenue. And we'll show you Sri Lanka's first ever Skywalk restaurant.
E-waste is growing phenomenally in India, and I think it's time that we reconsidered our consumption patterns.
We need to formalize repairs, we need to formalize refurbishments, and by law also they are permitted.
It expands their repair network, the consumer gets benefit because it's cheaper and it's accessible, and the guy is being able to make a living.
Government policies and in fact the road engineering policy says the surface road should have a better product. Adding the crumb rubber to the bitumen overcome with its inherent weaknesses.
I felt the urge to try to change something, especially multi-layered plastics can't be recycled. It's a huge burden on our environment.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. On to some business news now. Indian benchmark indices clocked solid gains on Friday, with both Sensex and Nifty trading within arm's reach of their all-time high levels. Benchmark indices opened strong, with BSE Sensex rising 400 points to 75,000 and the Nifty was above 22,750 during early trade. Sensex and Nifty surged in early trading following the US Federal Reserve's indication of a conservative approach to rate hikes. Meanwhile, a gorge of global stocks climbed on Thursday after the Federal Reserve indicated it was leaning towards a dovish stance, while the dollar retreated against the yen after another suspected round of intervention by the Bank of Japan. On Wall Street, US stocks closed with solid gains after Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that while recent inflation readings mean it will likely take longer than expected for central bank officials to become comfortable that inflation will resume its decline, interest rate increases also remained unlikely. Markets have consistently scaled back the timing and amount of rate cuts this year from the Fed as inflation has proved to be sticky and the labor market remains on solid footing. US economic data also showed the labor market remains tight ahead of key government payrolls data due on Friday, while other data indicated worker productivity was subdued in the first quarter. Also, shares in Europe ended slightly lower after touching a one-week low earlier in the session as investors returned from a midweek holiday and digested the Fed's announcement and a host of earnings reports. The Japanese yen also remained a focus as another round of intervention in the currency was suspected shortly after Powell had finished speaking, the second such event this week. Also facing a raft of challenges across its business, Apple reported a shallower than expected decline in quarterly revenue. The company expects a return to sales growth in the current quarter as it invests in AI features to be unveiled in the coming months. Apple said fiscal second quarter revenue fell 4% to $90.8 billion, beating the average analyst estimate of $90.01 billion. On the regulatory front, Apple's services business, which contains its lucrative App Store and was one of the few areas of growth in the fiscal second quarter, is under pressure from a new law in Europe. In the United States, the Department of Justice in March accused Apple of monopolizing the smartphone market and driving up the prices. And OPEC Plus producers who reduced production said they could extend if demand fails to pick up. This came as OPEC and its allies are yet to begin formal talks on extending 2.2 million barrels per day of voluntary oil output cuts beyond June. OPEC Plus, which includes the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Russia and other non-OPEC producers, next meet on the June 1st in Vienna to set output policy. Well, you're watching the India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The freshly crowned first-time Bundesliga champion Bayer Leverkusen extended its unbeaten streak to 47 matches across all competitions with a 2-0 win at Roma in the first leg of the Europa League semi-finals on Thursday. Florian Wirtz calmly slotted in the first goal for Leverkusen from the centre of the area with an assist from Alex Grimaldo. Midfielder Robert Adrich added another goal for Leverkusen in the 73rd with a long-range shot, just as Roma had been threatening on the other end. Meanwhile, in the other semi-final, Atlanta drew 1-1 at Marseille. The second legs of the semi-finals will be held next Thursday. And an IPL update, Sunrisers Hyderabad clinched a thrilling one-run victory over Rajasthan Royals in the 50th match of IPL on Thursday. Chasing the target of 201, Riyan Parag and Yashasvi Jaiswal played exceptional innings after losing Joss Butler and Sanju Samson in the first over. However, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar inflicted a last-ball heartbreak on Rajasthan to make it to a thrilling one-run win. Meanwhile, Mumbai Indians will take on Kolkata Knight Riders in the 51st match of the season. Mumbai sit 9th in the standings, while Kolkata, with 6 wins in 9 games, will move closer to playoffs with 2 points in Mumbai. And Czech Jiří Lehecka progressed to the semi-finals of the Madrid Open on Thursday after world number 4 Daniil Medvedev quit the match following an injury. Third seed Medvedev requested a medical timeout due while leading 3-2 and continued to visibly struggle to move after coming back into the court. Lehecka then broke Medvedev to take a 4-5 lead and took the set 6-4 before Medvedev told the umpire he could not continue the match. Lehecka will face Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime in the semi-finals on Friday. And the U.S. Soccer announced on Thursday that Olympic gold medalist and 2-time FIFA Women's World Cup winner Kelly O'Hara will retire at the end of the 2024 National Soccer League season. O'Hara was a key member of the American team's defense. The 35-year-old played in every single World Cup from 2011 to 2023, earning 160 caps for the national team. Kelly O'Hara is among one of only a dozen U.S. women to have played in 4 World Cups. Well, we know how much we love exploring new restaurants, pubs and cafes in the hood. Sri Lanka's first ever Skywalk restaurant brings the joy among people. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.
Ten states and 1 union territory with 93 constituencies go to vote in Phase 3 of the Lok Sabha elections on May 7. Gujarat, Karnataka and Goa will be under the spotlight as all Lok Sabha seats go to polls. We track the states from the north, west and south in Phase 3 on the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Team Poll Pulse has reached Ahmedabad. Gujarat is BJP's bastion, home turf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. All eyes are on whether the BJP can have a hat-trick in 2024.
Will be much better when अगर हमें जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी अहमदाबाद में ही मिल जाए.
हम लेडीज है तो हम कभी भी रात को 12 बजे भी अगर जॉब के हिसाब से घर जाए तो हमको लगना चाहिए कि नहीं हम पूरे सेफ कंट्री में रह रहे हैं.
Join us as we track the pulse of Indian democracy.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs. With a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.